Hi, my name is Brett Linkletter, CEO and founder of Misfit Media, the best damn restaurant marketing agency on the planet. Here at Misfit, we help restaurant owners grow and scale their business through strategic online marketing practices. Right now, you're listening to our podcast, Restaurant Misfits, where we'll discuss all things related to restaurant marketing, management, and everything else in between growing a restaurant business. This podcast is also brought to you in collaboration with Total Food Service. For over 30 years, Total Food Service has provided the restaurant and food service industry with exclusive interviews to the latest news on products, trends, associations, and events. You can sign up for a free monthly subscription by visiting totalfood.com today. And from all the misfits over here, we hope you enjoy the show. Cheers. In this episode, I interview Chef JJ Johnson. He's a restaurateur, award-winning chef, author, and host on numerous media platforms. He opened his restaurant Fieldtrip in July of 2019, and despite this crazy year, has still managed to thrive on through. JJ is best known for his barrier-breaking cuisine, connecting the foodways of West Africa and Asia to the Americas. His signature style of combining culturally relevant ingredients with his classically trained cooking and global point of view was inspired by the Caribbean taste he grew up with, combined with inspiration from his travels. In this episode, we explore his struggles and successes as a restaurateur primarily through this last year and touch on the COVID-19 pandemic, the impact of potential inequalities he's faced as a Black restaurateur, and the opportunities he sees to become a better leader and business owner. JJ, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm amazing. How about yourself, Brett?
I'm doing well. You know, as everyone knows, it's been a very wild year, to say the least. But super excited to have you on the show, man. You have such an interesting background. You're a chef. You're an author. You're a host on multiple platforms. How has this year been for you? Has it been pretty wild, or how's everything going?
I mean, this year was wild across the board. I didn't shelter in place at all. I didn't close the doors to my restaurant, kept it open. Figured out how to feed frontline workers, feed children and families in need, along with keeping the restaurant going. And I would say that really helped identify who we were as a restaurant at Fieldtrip in Harlem, as this fast casual restaurant, and in the community has been supporting us ever since. So yeah, just been able to chuck through, reflect, pivot, and really make, I think, some impact change.
Got it. So you guys didn't shut down at all. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, we didn't shut down at all. We decided to feed our local hospitals right from the jump, donated some food, created this Buy a Bowl program. After we sent 40 bowls to Harlem Hospital, took it to Twitter, said, hey, I think it's one of the greatest things I've ever done. And people were like, yo, JJ, I'll match you. People were calling the restaurant. It was like this incredible organic thing. And it allowed for me to bring back a lot of my employees and also to carry out a mission of people in need for food. After feeding frontline workers, we started focusing on families, children in need, and still doing that to this day.
Perfect. That's amazing. I mean, I love to hear these kinds of stories where when crisis happens, people double down to help other people. I mean, that's what it's about, right? I've actually seen in another interview of yours, you mentioned that you're a community guy, right? What does that kind of mean exactly to you?
You know, community to me is major. You know, when I look at the music industry, I don't think there's any artist that has been able to be like this worldwide or this world-renowned person without their initial community. And when you look at Jay-Z's got Brooklyn, Diddy has Harlem. If you look at Selena Gomez, she has Texas or El Paso, right, where she's from, or Dallas. Taylor Swift has the South. Everybody has a community. Taylor has Nashville. Everybody has a community that has wrapped their arms around them and have lift them up and keeps them true to who they are. And that's important for me. So like really leaning on the community in a sense of, this is what you need. This is who we believe you are. This is a void in your community, which is like delicious, affordable food. And then do the right thing, and hopefully one hand washes the other. And that's what has worked for me.
Nice, nice. And I'm assuming also during this time, I mean, like, Yelp reported that 44% of restaurants have shut down and aren't coming back. And so, what I tell, all of our clients at Misfit in our agency is, hey, look, a lot of restaurants are shut down, but there's still all these people that have to eat. I mean, there's still all these people that are looking for their favorite restaurants to eat at. And if it's not just a matter of staying in business to support your employees, but to support your community, right? Hey, we want to feed you. We're here to support you. And I think that's fantastic, man. I love that. I absolutely love that. So obviously with all that's happened, I mean, the restaurant space is changing. I mean, the reason I love the restaurant space is because it's always been changing. It's always evolving. What once was an industry that had no tech is suddenly becoming a tech industry to some regard, right? In a lot of ways. And I think COVID just sped up that process, right? A ton. I mean, a lot of people who were reliant on walk-by traffic at their restaurants now have suddenly had to shift to online, figure out takeout delivery, or figure out how are they reaching people on their cell phones now versus just showing a sign in the street, whatever the case. But in your opinion, I mean, what are some of the big changes you've seen in the restaurant space since you've been in the restaurant space as a chef, but also, in the last year because of COVID? What are some of the massive changes you've seen?
I think you hit that on the nail. Tech is major right now. I mean, I remember when we first opened up Fieldtrip, we had a QSR menu. QSR, put your phone here for your menu, which you see everywhere right now. And people were like, "No, I want a printed menu. Give me a printed menu."
Yep.
So it changed the way people were thinking. And I think a lot of things are authentically for tech, or authentic. You have to be authentic in the tech space. You can't just introduce any tech. And I think that's really important moving forward, as you'll see, technology authentic is like scanning that menu board, or ordering on the app, or pre-ordering, or, menus at the table side. But those things also help a restaurant save money. Think how many menus you've been printing. Think of how much collateral. Think about updating your menu. You spelled the word wrong, you have to reprint. So it might be pennies on the dollar, but it helps. And I think in a year from now, 2 years from now, you'll see restaurants being able to make more money in very different ways, and technology have a major play in that.
100%. No, I think it's a good point. I mean, and we feel the same way at our agency, right? It's like we've been trying to do the whole QR code things for a couple of years now, and people, I think, last year they were saying, I don't like the QR code. Wasn't that thing, a thing a few years ago? And it kind of died, right? Well, two things happened, right? Suddenly Apple decided, all right, well, we should incorporate QR codes into our camera, which was great. But secondly, COVID, right? I mean, a lot of people don't want to touch menus anymore because of the situation, right? I mean, and so now they're adopting these things. And same thing with online ordering. Personally, I do a lot of online ordering, direct ordering through restaurants, but because I'm in the restaurant space. But I think a lot of people, they don't want to. But now, that's the preferred method, right? For you guys, have you seen a massive lift in your obviously takeout delivery orders since all this? I'm assuming.
Yeah, I would say in the heart of COVID, definitely in takeout, definitely in delivery.
Yeah.
We probably did 20-25% of business with delivery. In the heart of COVID, we're at 80%. I would say right now we're about 50-50 on takeout, people walking in and grabbing, and then 50% on delivery. I would say the biggest thing I'm seeing uptick in the Harlem community is the pre-orders. People using, the method to pre-order so they don't have to wait. They come in, they grab, they go, or wait a couple of minutes. I'm seeing a lot of that that I saw very minimal of before, which I think is a very important part of flow of business and to help the flow and for people to get in and out quickly. But yeah, I'm looking at getting into the tech space in the restaurant world. I have some ideas of what I think could be really smart, just for us as Fieldtrip. Not something that I want to put out to the rest of the world, but just something that is here that we can use, similar to what Sweet Green has done, or Domino's, or Papa John's.
Yes.
Something that'd be really smart for us.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, speaking of Sweet Green and Domino's, I mean, they are literally tech companies. They are tech companies that happen to sell pizza or salads, but they're tech companies, right? I mean, it's crazy. On that note, I mean, for everyone listening, tell us more about Fieldtrip. What makes Fieldtrip different?
I mean, Fieldtrip is a rice bowl shop. Field is for the rice fields. Trip are for all the trips that I've taken around the world. You literally can eat anywhere in the world. You get each bowl is composed with a different rice grain. It's not like white or brown rice. The grains of the grandfather and grandma grains of the world, these heirloom beautiful grains. We don't push that onto you. It's just what you get in the bowl. I call it like somewhat healthy, like you're in between healthy and not. So you feel like really comfortable.
Nice. I like that. In between healthy and not.
Yeah. But the goal is that it has this, the goal of Fieldtrip for me, it was a big risk, was disrupting a community that tends not to give fast casuals or good fast casuals until those fast casuals have exploded and they have nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
When we look at the Chipotles or the Shake Shacks or the Sweet Greens or Chops, those Toros, these companies that are growing, they're not in the hood, right? They're not in rural America, right? And the people that are in those places are McDonald's, Burger King's, Papa John's, Domino's, and they're making crazy profits, right?
Yes.
So it was like, if we could launch in Harlem and show that this is a working class brand and people want to eat this food in this type of community, then we can go anywhere in the world.
Got it.
And if Harlem uplifts us, it's even better.
So wait, so you're saying some of these healthier concepts, they're not in some of these hood areas that you're describing, right? Is that what you're saying? Some of these healthier concepts?
Yeah. Like the healthier concepts they're not in rural America either, right?
Yeah.
They're not.
Yeah, you're right.
They're so hyper focused on the 1% or the 1 to 10 percenters, and it's like, well, the 1 to 10 percenters only live but in so many places.
Yeah.
And every other brand, they're focused on not that, but they can still go into those communities.
Got it. No, I think that's a really interesting point. I mean, you're totally right, and it seems so obvious now that we're talking about it. But why do you think that's the case? I mean, because I know at least for a lot of people, right? They assume that healthy food is always expensive, and it doesn't have to be, right? Not at all, right? And that's a total misconception. I mean, why do you think that is the case? I mean, why are they only focusing on these one percenters? I mean, what is the reason for this?
Well, I mean, it comes to being authentic. I think a lot of those brands are like, well, how do I come into a place like Harlem or Oakland or Detroit, right? Charlotte. I don't really know. The people that live there don't look like the people that come to eat in my places.
Got it.
But those people actually do eat in their places, right? Because those working class communities those working class communities that live there work where those businesses are, and they might not be able to afford to eat in them all the time. So, and they're just afterthoughts. But when you look at big brands, those big brands are benefiting from these places. Popeyes, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Olive Gardens, Red Lobsters. Like Olive Garden, Red Lobster, they pop up in a rural America place. Those places are packed all the time. So I think if COVID hasn't made you reshape or rethink, then, and you're kind of stuck in these areas, you're not going to really be able to do much. You're not going to be able to grow. And that's what's going to be very important for us when we do start to grow, is where do we grow and how do we stay true to ourselves? Because if it wasn't for a community like Harlem, we would be closed.
Got it. So for you, looking at your expansion of Fieldtrip, are you looking to expand in some of these more rural communities, or where are you guys looking? I know you guys are looking to expand, right?
Yeah, 100% we're looking to expand, yeah.
Okay. Any communities you're looking at as of now, and how soon?
I think right now, what's really big for me is, like, I'm very fortunate. I think during COVID, hard work paid off. People saw me sweeping, mopping, opening the doors, like really being in the business, like really caring for it.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. And Mark Cuban said it the best on a podcast. A lot of owners that are successful right now coming out of COVID were working in the business. They weren't working on the business anymore. And they've been looking like, I don't really need all those employees. And I don't really need all these people. which is
Yes.
kind of sad because I believe that the economy will come back halfway full going into 2021. But expansion for me is all on a couple of things. How do we rebuild a community potentially? How
Yep.
do we get in the community and give jobs? How do we empower a community? I'm always looking at communities when we will expand. Community is really big for me.
Yep.
And I think learning neighborhoods. Are you on the uptown side? Are you on the downtown side? Are you in a shopping plaza? Are you by a college? Are you by a hospital? All those things are major points of when you're expanding.
Yep.
But I think the upper hand for Fieldtrip is that we understand communities that Everyday Table, which I'm sure you're familiar with in California, or Locale, have been trying to go into these different communities and tell the community what they should be eating versus embracing the community and being very authentic to the community. So I think that's where we'll strive at. I think those are the things that we know the best, and we'll lean on that and see how we do. I mean, anything you do now is a risk. So
yeah.
but why not why not bet on all black now, right? Maybe we'll hit.
Yeah. No, man, I agree. And God, there's just so much uncertainty still, but you know, I think we're starting to gain a lot more certainty, obviously, than we did a few months back. And obviously, this, especially in the U.S., it's been wild. A lot of our listeners are all over the world, but it's specifically in the U.S. I mean, we've been on the magnifying glass for the world. It's like, what are they doing? What's happening in the U.S., right? And I think as of lately,
Right.
thank God we're starting to climb out of some of this stuff. You know, it's been a wild year. But you just mentioned, you know, I think during COVID, a lot of businesses, I think not just in the restaurant space, but a lot of businesses in general realized they don't need all of their employees. You said that you think that's kind of sad, or I mean, what are your? I mean, I would look at that as almost an inefficiency issue, right? If we had too many people before,
No, you know,
now we can bounce back.
No, you're right. No. I think it's owners that are able to focus on their business make them successful, right?
Yes.
And if you're able to drive more profit, if you're able to be more stable, it allows you to either be around much longer or have more growth, whatever you are trying to do. I'm saying right now, where people don't have jobs, there's no certainty of what tomorrow looks like.
Yes.
It's kind of hard to be like, man, you know, owners of business have realized that we don't need you anymore, right? And
yes.
It's like, well, where do people with those where do people with those skill sets go? So for me, opening more restaurants for our industry that's crumbling, I hope gives it some hope or allows people that need a job to say, well, I can go work with JJ at Fieldtrip. I know he has strong beliefs in giving people really good food at an affordable price. He's paying us livable wage. He treats people equally. Or I hope that's how the industry looks at me when I start to expand. Because in this moment, you know, Chipotle's opening 100 new Chipotle's in the next 6 months.
Damn.
You know, Papa John's is up. I think I read something in Washington Post. Papa John's, Domino's, and somebody else is up 1,500%. Well, why? I think we have to, as small restaurants, we have to stop thinking small and thinking big.
Yes.
And figure out how do we grow in an authentic way. And that allows us to pay our employees more. That allows us to have more impact. That allows us to, you know, to do a lot of stuff. Or for me, be able to do a lot of stuff for a restaurant industry that I think needs change.
100%. 100%. I know, I love that. I think as entrepreneurs, you know, that is our biggest motivator. I mean, for a lot of people, all of I speak with is creating that impact. First, you know, how can you help yourself? How can you help your friends and family? How can you help your community? And then what's after that, right? How can we continue helping people and growing our business to help these people? And I think that's awesome. And I think that's honorable. So on that note, though, I mean, you said making an impact and continuing to grow. What are, in your opinion, I mean, how are you guys looking to do that? I mean, what opportunities maybe have you seen have opened up because of this situation? I mean, obviously, you know, the big thing a lot of people speak about on our podcast is, hey, like, a lot of restaurants closed down, which means now there's a lot of opportunities to get lower leases, right? Are you looking at capitalizing on some of these opportunities out there right now? I mean, are you seeing some
So I think,
opportunities given the situation?
yeah, I think that's the low hanging fruit, right? Hey, I want to move to this
Yeah.
community. I can go into an existing space. I think you can open a restaurant right now on the high end, 350,000, 400,000, any
Yep.
type of restaurant. If you take
Wow.
over an existing space, right? And I think that's just on the high end. Now that's like, and I think that includes all your small wares, everything, and then you need a little bit more money in the bank for working capital.
Yeah.
But everything to get it going, $400,000 to do which would have maybe cost you 750,000 to 1.2 million to get your restaurant open. That's a
Got it.
big saving. So if you are a person that can raise money, you're like, hold on here, let me go raise money to open up 2 restaurants now,
Yeah.
right? So that's one thing. And then the other thing is, big developers have a lot of properties that have restaurants in it. So I think cold calling big developers and saying, hey, I'm Brett and I have this beautiful fast casual. Would you want to learn more about my restaurant? Because I would love to
Yeah.
be if you're in New York City, right? You'd love to be in Rockefeller Center. Like, I would love to be in Rockefeller Center,
Totally.
So I think there's
Yes.
ways to drop people some notes, because the big players only know the big players sometimes. They don't know the small guys or the small girls, right? So
Yes.
these are the moments where you can really reach out to do some good stuff, to help grow your business and negotiate some great deals. And then you should just be doing percentage on rent deals. And if your landlord doesn't feel comfortable, maybe you do it on a kicker percentage for the first year or second year. Let's revisit. Let's see what that looks like, and then go from there.
Got it. Got it. And you guys, I know at Fieldtrip, I mean, you guys just celebrated your first year in business in July, was it? I think I saw
Yeah,
correctly.
July we turned 1 year.
That's awesome, man. That's amazing. Um, and so I mean, the first 6 months and then I guess the next 6 months, right, moving into July, what did you kind of see change about the business? I mean, obviously I know COVID hit, but you guys obviously, I mean, it looks like you guys are absolutely killing it this time from what I can see from an outside perspective. So props to you guys.
We're just pushing hard. We're just pushing hard.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. And I could tell that you're passionate about it. And I tell you're excited about it. And I think, like I mentioned this on multiple podcasts, but restaurants who survive during this time are going to be that much stronger after, right? And what this has done for us has given us the ultimate gut check of how much you love your business, like you said yourself, right? Like you're out there in your business, working in your business, you're mopping, you're talking to people, you're working in the business, you're trying to expand it. As you did some of that, what were some of maybe the inefficiencies you found in your business that you've been fixing now since?
I think infrastructure for me is really big right now to fix. Or not to fix, but to have. It's
Yeah,
like, who does this? How can they master this? But overall, consistency. I've
got it.
learned that the fast casual business is more consistent than any other business out there. The reason why we go back to McDonald's every time is those fries are beautifully crispy, the right amount of salt or a little salty, however we look at it. But it's the
Yes.
same every time. The packaging is the same every time. The people talk to you the same every time. And I'm starting to look at the business as more or less like, well, how did the military become consistent? Why are they're one of the most consistent places. Our Marines are one of the consistent places in the world, of people, and trying to
Yes.
develop that and that mindset for our staff so that when we do get to the point of growth, you don't ever walk into a field trip and feel like you're in somewhere different. So that's what opened my mind up through COVID, that consistency is the key. Consistency retains customers, but not just
Yep.
food consistency, hospitality, all across the board.
100%. 100%. Other than COVID, all the other events that have happened during this year, um, you know, moving into, I know obviously you obviously are in the Harlem community. You're supporting your community more than it seems like most restaurant owners are doing. Which, so props to you again for that. I mean, that's incredible. You're giving back to the community. I love that. Absolutely. Um, what about, have you noticed any kind of change with the whole BLM movement? Have you noticed a rise in support or any other kind of changes in that community at all by any chance? I mean, what other changes
Yeah,
have you noticed?
I think with the Black Lives Matter movement, they open up a lot of eyes in our own community of Black people, right?
Yeah.
That, we've been supporting a lot of business that don't look like us. We keep a lot of business open. And I mean, like, listen, I can break it down. You know, Tao Group is one of the largest grossing hospitality groups in the country. Why is that? Because they get a lot of Black people that dine there that a lot of other business don't get, right? That's their cherry on top, right? And
Interesting.
if you look at it, probably the reason why they dropped 30% to the bottom or whatever they dropped is because 15 of that 30 is Black and brown people.
Got it.
And we can go through the list of a lot of restaurants. I'm sure you can name some restaurants in LA that Black people really support, that spend a lot of money in these places, are consistent cash flow. I mean, an article just came out about Popeyes. $800 billion are from the Black community over the years of them being open. That's a lot of money just in the Black community. So I think the Black Lives Matter movement has opened up the eyes to Black people on, like, where are we spending our money? Let's make sure we're spending our money with our people and keeping their business open. But I also think just overall, I think it just opened the eye for, I think, a lot of people on just how people get treated. Do we actually treat people fair? Are we giving people a fair chance on whatever they want to do? And are we hiring the right people for the job, not based on their skin color? Like, are they the right person for the job, or the smartest person for the job, and I want to offer them something? So
Got it.
I think for us in the beginning, Black Lives Matter movement definitely brought a lot of people to our restaurant that probably wouldn't have came before based on the community we're in. A lot of people came because I wrote an op-ed in Esquire about this. But I think it's something that will keep going and that will stay alive really for a good, I don't want to call it a good cause, but for the right moment. And my goal from Black Lives Matter movement, and everybody's different on what they see, is that you know, Brett, like me and you can build bricks together, right?
Yeah.
And it's a two-way street. Like, hey, what do you need? You know, you're like, hey, JJ, what do you need? And we're able to help each other, so both of us can get to potentially the place we both want to get to. So, but yeah, for some other business, it's been great for them. Like the guy around the corner from me from Make My Fish, you know, he's packed now. People would never go to his spot before that weren't Black in the community. So it's really helped some business, and definitely through a lot of Black business that weren't able to get PPP money, definitely helped push them through this COVID time.
Wait, so you're saying some Black businesses didn't get PPP money because
a lot of Black business weren't able to get PPP money because the requirements, they might not have an accountant that were able to do all that paperwork. They got declined. I got declined 3 times before I got my PPP money for my business.
Wow.
And my accounting firm does 150 other restaurants in New York City. Nobody else was declined because of me. And I mean, after a while, why else did I get declined? And, you know, you have to then ask that question, and I'm not that person. So I had to go with a non-traditional bank to fund our PPP money, which the head of small business in Harlem was able to help me get. But a lot of people don't have those networks that I have.
Got it.
So
wait, are you saying that you believe that your accounting firm was able to get all these other restaurants the PPP money, but not you because of being a Black man, or what? I'm not.
Yes, I'm gonna have to say that because the bank came back to us twice to say we filled out the PPP loan wrong. That was their excuse. And my accounting firm said, hey, we just filled out 149 other applications the same way. They didn't get declined. You guys even gave somebody money that's not even a citizen.
Wow.
So why isn't this guy getting the money?
I mean, that's a pretty big claim there. I mean, like, have you spoken to your accounting firm about this? I mean, what were their thoughts? What do they have to say about it?
After a while, they're like, JJ, maybe this, what the news is reporting about Black business is right. So, you know, for me, it's different. I make it work. You know, you figure it out. But after a while, right, when people, and I'm not a person to point to race. Like, that's not my first thing I point to. But when you have a company that is filling out PPP loans for people and they're getting it, and then you're not getting it, and you're the only one, you have to say why. But there's a lot of people in the Harlem community that weren't able to get PPP loans.
Interesting.
That was that was hard, and there's
Is
a lot
there
of
is
black
there
business around.
is there any other reason you can imagine as to why you wouldn't have got it? Or I mean,
I can only give you the reason they gave me. They said that we filled out the paperwork wrong.
oh my God. See, this is incredible. This is the kind of stuff where you don't really see everywhere or hear everywhere. So I'm glad you brought this up, man. I mean, I really appreciate you bringing this up. I mean, this is a major topic, obviously, of today, and it's sad to see if this is the case. I mean, who really knows? But if this is the case, that is the case. That's wrong. That's absolutely wrong. Obviously, man. And I'm sorry to hear that, man. I mean, what's so messed up that I've heard about the PPP is I think the whole system's just, in my opinion, it's fucked. It's totally fucked because you have these massive corporations with $2 billion market caps getting the PPP money. When you got hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank and they're applying when they have a lot more than 500 employees, I mean, that's that's against the law. That's criminal. I would
But
say.
I mean, they didn't write the terms. So like, this is what I'm saying, right? Where you think, and this is the issue, when you're a small business, you think small. When you're a big business, you think big, right? And you have to think about it. A lot of these big corporations, a lot of these big restaurant business that were getting hit, their investors are from banks.
Yeah.
Like, I think what the chief the ex CFO of Chase, JP Morgan, is like invested in Shake Shack. Of course he got $10 million.
Yeah,
The guy knows
you're right.
the system, right? They have the access, they have the stuff. So if the government is writing the law and this is the law, then why shouldn't they be allowed to apply for it? Right? That has to ride on their conscience if they don't want to or not. So for me, it's like, I don't want to knock the business. That's the government's fault. They should be regulating these guys. They should be making sure that the small people are getting taken care of. But we all know that this administration is about big. And a lot of the little places will be left behind. And the sad part about it is a lot of these restaurants where politicians' kids have worked at as their first jobs will be closed, right? The first place your kid was employed is now going to be closed because you don't want to take care of small business when you've been printing money. You can't tell me there's no more money. You guys have been giving out money like it's monopoly.
Yeah.
So
what about, obviously, so it seems like the whole BLM movement has brought a lot of light to potential some, a lot of these inequalities we're talking about, right? Did you see some of this inequalities before, the whole PPP and some other things? Are there any other examples you can bring up?
Yeah, I think, let's look at it from a bigger scale. You see, JP Morgan just released they're going to put $30 billion, going to invest $30 billion into black-owned, black people, mortgages, loans. That money has always been there. That's not new money. Right? That's not money that they just pulled out the sky or went to the federal government and said, give me this money on a loan. They're letting people know, they're letting black people know, like, you can get this now. Before you were getting declined, now we're going to make sure we get it to you. They also know like 50% of people probably are going to default on this money, right? Where white business owners, 20% of people default on the money. So they have the statistics, they know, but they're just making that money available. I mean, that's the easiest way for me to show you like the unbalance of the system. And now I hope people go and take advantage of it. They go and get money to buy a home or to help their business out or whatever it might be. But, the restaurant industry is stemmed on racism. It's a Eurocentric industry. Paul Bocuse only had male people working in his kitchen for the whole time of duration. No women have ever worked in his kitchen, all white males. So if he's the pinnacle and that's what trickles down, then that's, what it is. I mean, we can look and we can see it. After a while, I think we have to ask our friends, hey, why aren't you hiring more diverse? I have a diverse staff. Why isn't your staff diverse? Why aren't you doing these things? And some people will care about it and others will just keep carrying on about who they are and you can't change them. But I know the future of the kids will change the industry. And it all starts with where people invest and who they invest in and the changes we see there. Because at the end of the day, Black Lives Matter movement could constantly keep moving But if people that have money aren't investing into Black people that then can change the communities or empower the communities and uplift it, then there's only but so much we can do, because we don't have a lineage of wealth.
Do you think there's an inequality in obviously other racial groups or religious groups, or for the matter, or do you think, I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, 100%, I think there's inequality in Latinx, inequality with women in general across the board.
Yep. Do you think it's as strong as what you've witnessed? I mean, it sounds like, obviously, not getting that PPP money, we don't know the real answers, right? But it seems like you feel like it may have been a racial thing, right? Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I can't prove that, right? I'm just going by on 150 white-owned business, 149 white-owned business, one Black-owned business gets not approved by a big bank that I bank with, right? Yeah. Well, think about if you're the small guy in Oklahoma or South Carolina or Mississippi that banks at a small bank that didn't even know what was going on with PPP, and you're a Black-owned business owner, you're 10, 15 cents behind. You don't even have an accountant. You use QuickBooks. That's a mess.
Got it.
Right?
Got it.
So
I mean, I'll tell you, because here's the thing. I mean, I'll tell you for me too, man. I mean, we applied for the PPP and through our accounting firm, and it wasn't even a possibility that we were going to get it. And we saw tons of other people get it too, and we're like, what the hell, man? What's going on? So we actually ended up gone through some other alternative method, and finally, our bank finally said, okay, well, yes, here we go. We got you. But it was, I mean, we were stressing bullets for that first week because, it was about first come, first serve, it seemed like.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think a lot of people struggled with,
I
think a lot of people struggled with PPP. Ultimately the statistic that were put out was, 1 in 8 Black business got PPP money in the first round, 2 in 7 got it in the second. And then from there, and then most of people got it from non-traditional banks, like nonprofit banks. That's where we got our money from. So it's just something to be looked at. And we know in the restaurant industry, you don't see a lot of Black-owned restaurants. Basically, you don't see
what are your, I mean, other than, support from the government or, these big banks, it seems like, in my opinion, a lot of this stuff, there's a lot of corrupt people, both in government and in big business. And it's like, how do you solve this fucking problem? Right? It's like, damn it. I mean, I see it too, man. And I feel your pain, but I'm wondering, in your opinion, if we were going to try to better some of these things, in your opinion, how can we better support everyone? How can we start making strides towards some of these better changes? What can we do as people, as a community, as a nation, to better some of these things?
I think the first step is, conversations like this, right? Me and you are pretty much aligned and on a lot of these topics. Hey, JJ struggled with PPP. I struggled with PPP. 2 small business owners. Why is that, right? So just having conversations around this to bring more awareness, I think, is step one. And you have a platform where a lot of people listen to, which is really important. And then I think step 2 is just disrupting, right? Disrupting marketplaces and knocking on people's door. If you're trying to be a business owner, if you're looking for investments, or if you're going the very traditional route of small business, pressuring your bank to give you money so you can try to prove your concept. And I'm not saying the bank is going to give you $500,000, $1 million, but maybe the bank gives you $20,000 or $10,000. You can use that as leverage. You can get grant money. Maybe you get a good deal with your landlord. I think there's many ways to tackle it, but the key is for the new generation to fully be aligned. People like me and you having the dialect, helping each other out, extending our network to make it a better place.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's just communication, right? Just talking about this stuff, talking about these issues, just being open about it.
I mean, for me and you, it's pretty like, come on, man, we still talking about this? Like, we should be talking about how to make the air cleaner and the grass greener and the ocean bluer. right? We're still talking about inequality. That's how I feel every day I talk about this. It's like, we still argue. I mean, even if you think about it, like most of the things we're arguing about, or not even arguing about trying to change, are things that were trying to be changed 50 years ago, 100 years ago. It's like, it's truly ridiculous. And I think young people like me and you and our friends are going to change society.
Got it. So on that note, I mean, screw the government, screw the banks. How can we as business owners thrive during this time? What are some things that you've done that you feel like you feel good about? If more people can do more of X, Y, or Z, more people can be successful. What are some of your, maybe tips of success that you've seen in your restaurant, and maybe you as an individual?
I think it's just like simple, man. Like you just like being kind, empowering your employees. For me, it's like always trying to give hope. There's going to be a better day, a better place, a better environment for us all. And I hope
being
that
a strong leader.
Shine some hope. Yeah, just trying to shine some hope on the world.
Totally. And I think that's important though, being a strong leader. I mean, it's we've as a company, we've had a lot of business coaches, right? We've had a lot of people we've learned from, because when I first started my company, I was so young. In fact, I've only worked at another company in my life once for 3 months, and I was hired and fired in 90 days. So for me, right, it was, I never got, mentorship from a boss. I never had that. So for us, being able to utilize business coaches was incredible. And one of my business coaches told me, beginning of COVID, he's like, here's what's going to happen. You're going to have the people that say, this is the worst thing ever, and I have no idea how we're going to make it out. And those people who think it's the worst thing ever, have no idea how to make it out, they're not going to make it out because they have no idea how to make it out. Then you have those people that say, you know what, this is going to suck, but we're going to get through it. And they're going to get through it. And then you have those people that say, you know what, this sucks, but screw it. What can I do to succeed and thrive during this time? And those people have been succeeding and thriving. And I think, to your point here, though, is being a strong leader. People need a strong leader to look up to, right? People need someone they can look up to see, hey, we're moving in that right direction. We're moving in that right direction. So maybe on that note, I mean, how do you feel like, you are the best leader for your employees? I mean, any kind of practices that you feel like you do, any kind of group huddles or team meetings or anything of that matter?
I'm always having constant communication with my employees, always listening to their concerns. I run our organization like a democracy. I don't run it as a dictatorship. That doesn't mean everything you come to me with, we're going to do. But yes. I run an open door policy. I let people know that their voices can be heard and seen, and they're seen. And I think that's really important for people to be seen. So,
I agree.
Communication is the key, especially right now. It's hard for people. It's intense. You don't know if somebody's lost a family member. A lot of things.
I like that, man. I like that. I tell my team the same thing. It's like, I'm not the one running marketing campaigns for our clients anymore. My employees are. And so where do I learn? I learn from them. They're the ones speaking with people. They're the ones getting that experience. They're the ones listening to our customers. Same thing with your employees, right? I love that, man. Having an open door policy, democracy, learning from your team is incredible. I think people want to be heard right now more than ever. I mean, people are craving social interaction, right? I mean, right. Being heard is so important right now. Other than all this, other than, everything that we've been speaking about, I think a lot of people have mentioned to me that, some of the positives of COVID, which you kind of touched on a little bit, and I know it's a weird thing to say the positives of COVID, right? But it's opened up a lot of inefficiencies in our businesses, a lot of inefficiencies in people we don't need, or systems we don't need, or processes we should not be spending our time on. For you as a restaurant owner, and for you as an individual that's as big in the food space as a chef, I mean, what are some of the problems that you've realized and seen as a business owner in this industry?
I mean, I think you're talking about a lot of positives. I mean, for Fieldtrip, we'll probably wind up on the other side of this. The positive is we've been able to embrace the community. The community's been able to embrace us. We've been able to do things that would have taken us 2 to 5 years to do in 2 to 5 months. So positive is good. Positive is things that come out of the darkness when you're fighting for your life. So I don't look at the pandemic as a negative in a lot of regards. I look at it as a positive. It has helped us in a lot of areas as a country, as a society, as a world to, I think, do things better or to expose people. I call it the true reset. And that's really important.
Yeah. No, I totally agree, man. I mean, it's made us rethink everything. There's a quote from Winston Churchill that someone just mentioned in my last podcast. I forget who it was now. Do so many of these things, but it's a quote from Winston Churchill, and it's like, don't waste a good crisis. Don't let a good crisis go to waste. So what can we learn from this, right? What did we do wrong that now, we got to fix that now, right? But on that note, I mean, other than opportunities we've kind of speaking about a little bit, what do you think restaurateurs should be thinking about if they want to be successful moving through this pandemic and on out of it? What are some of the things that they should be thinking about right now?
I think from a restaurateur perspective, you should be thinking about, this is not a reopening. This is a grand opening. What is my business now? What does it look like? Can I have multiple sources of revenue sales lines of revenue? And how do I tackle that? I think the things you've dreamt about, you can do now more than ever, and put your creativity to the test.
Got it. Man, I love that. Not a reopening, a grand opening. Don't mind if I might use that in one of my next ads. That's a really good one. I might have to quote you on that. That's a really good one. It's not a reopening, it's a grand opening. That's really good. What about you, on the marketing side? I noticed you guys have, a pretty good following on Fieldtrip. What are some of the reasons that you feel like you've been successful on the marketing front? I mean, how do you go about attracting new customers to eat at your restaurant, both in store and online?
I mean, for me right now, it's all about storytelling, being authentic, showing delicious pictures. But I think storytelling is the key. I think that's driving people, and is those stories where people get to know who we are. I mean, the biggest thing for me going into 2021 is how to build a cult following. I know it sounds crazy, but how can we build that up, and how do we create field trippers that will be with us anywhere and anywhere? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I hear that a lot. Is we call it building like a culture, right? A cult that's with your culture. It's kind of corny, but people say it. But that's cool, man. But I mean, as far as your guys' content looks just beautiful. Do you guys run ads too, or just posting organically, or what's kind of the strategy there?
We always have a small strategy. I think that's part of the growth plan is bringing in a CMO to Fieldtrip, really tell us who we are, maybe some block marketing. I think there's so much to be done. Right now, we're still like startup, gritty, let's post that, let's post this. We think that's cool moments. But yeah, a lot of work to get done on the marketing side.
Got it. Awesome, man. Awesome. Did you say that you have an in-house team working on that, or you work with an agency?
Oh, we just have an in-house person that works on it. Yeah. Everybody on the team works on social.
Oh, really? See, I love that, man. I think that's so cool. I mean, I'll tell you this. For us as an agency, one of our biggest pain points is we don't do social content. We don't create content for our clients. We're more on the advertising front, the automation front, right? A lot of restaurant owners that we speak with have a really difficult time getting their team on board, which seems like hasn't been an issue for you guys. I mean, just looking at what you guys have done online, I feel like I can really understand your brand just looking at it just in 3 seconds. It seems really cool. The colors are on brand. I love that you're posting your employees. I think it creates that social connection, because the thing I always tell people too is people don't buy from businesses. They buy from people, right?
Right.
So building that relationship, that's why I think what you guys are doing is really cool. But I don't know. I mean, maybe what's some advice that maybe you could give some other restaurant owners on how they can get more of their team members to embrace their brand? I mean, what have you done? I know you said, storytelling is so big, and you obviously have an open door policy.
I think making your team feel like they're part of the team. If you're a small business, everybody's a part of it. Everybody's doing things they don't want to do. So, recognize what people do well and try to figure it out. Maybe repost some pictures from your customers, repost pictures from your team members, take pictures, constantly taking pictures, come up with some type of strategy and try to execute it. Everybody doesn't have a budget for marketing, but we all need it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think, I know you mentioned in a number of other interviews I saw that, food is utmost the most important, obviously. Hey, you don't give food service, people aren't coming back. But I think getting your team on board to embrace the brand, to push your content out there, to get in front of new people is something people just forget about all the time. You know, Obviously we need great food, number one, but now how do we get the message out, right? Um, so, moving forward now, as you guys are looking at your expansion, what's the expansion look like for you guys? Is that coming up real soon, or I mean, what are the next steps for you guys?
We're working on some stuff. We're working on some stuff, and hopefully when it comes time, I'll jump back on here with you and we can talk about it.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, hey, that was incredible, JJ. I mean, that was really cool. Really good information, and appreciate you sharing everything with me today. For any restaurant owners who've been listening to this and maybe are closed and now are looking to reopen, I love what you mentioned about not a reopening, it's a grand opening. Any kind of final thoughts on how you can do that? How can you push that message? Hey, we're not reopening. This is the grand opening. Any kind of final thoughts on how they can do that both safely but also effectively?
I think that there's always a North Star out there that you're looking at as your inspiration. So look
Yeah.
at the North Star, see who they are, see what they're doing well. I think in the fine dining category, you can look at a restaurant called Coat out in New York City, a Korean steakhouse that's doing, I think, phenomenal on the fine dining side of how to utilize many different revenue streams. I think on the fast casual side, safety is leading to bring customers in, showing safety as a marketing tool. And then, and I think the hardest part is if you're in the middle. The middle game is, will people come to eat at your casual restaurant right now? And a lot of them are eating at fast casuals because they're getting that casual setting, and then they're treating themselves to fine dining. So you might have to reposition yourself. You might have to become a fast casual. You might have to become a fine dining institution, or you're both. So, just revisit your business, just look at it and look to that North Star to help guide you through, to give you some inspiration to get you to that next step.
Got it. Awesome, man. And JJ, for anyone who's listening to you right now and wants to follow you online or see more of you or look into more a field trip, how do they go about doing that?
Yeah, you can follow me on any social media platform at Chef JJ. You can follow Fieldtrip on Instagram at Fieldtrip Harlem. You can go to our website, fieldtripnyc.com. You can DM us. I'll answer any questions you may have, or if you want to connect. So just hit me up. And Brett, it was great talking to you.
Absolutely, JJ. Well, have a great one, man. And props to you for absolutely killing it during this tough time. And we'll be in touch real soon. Thanks a lot.
Talk to you soon. Peace out.
Alrighty. Later, brother.